أديم بها بلاهي حبها ليعابر في فؤادي وناهي أهو الخلاني ينطق بالجواهر فاهي.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, it's your host, Brother Askari, also known as Abu Naima, with a fresh episode of Journey to Islam. And we have our guest here today, brother by the name of Malik. And actually, he's from my city. You know what I mean? He's from San Diego. Yes. So without further ado, you know what I mean? I'll let him introduce himself and he give you some basic background information as far as, where he grew up at and where he's from and so forth. But then I'll go ahead and fadl akhi.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I'm Songaya Malik, but in the streets also known as Sunny Bo. In our area where we come from, in the streets I was known as Sunny Bo. I came into Islam December of 2016.
I got a question about that already. Okay.
Go ahead, Aki.
So that name, where did that name come from?
Well, it's interesting because in the streets, man, sometimes our names can come from our actual name. For example, my name is Songaya Malik. And so my family, they called me Sonny as a kid. And you know how it goes in the streets. Sometimes we take your name and then your name becomes kind of like a diss, like, people clown you with your name. Yeah. So for example, my friends would call me Sonny Bono just to be funny, like, yeah, Sonny Bono. Okay. And then Sonny Bono got shortened to
Bono would share and okay.
Yeah, and so Sonny Bono got shortened to Sonny Bo. And the area that I come from out of our area, the Skyline, is considered the low bottom. So then Sonny Bono became Sonny Bolo, and then that just became Sonny Bo.
Okay.
And so, and you know how in the streets, bro, your name is like everything. So you guard your name. You guard your name like, how in Islam we're taught to guard our chastity, right? We guard our names like that in the streets. So it was something that I really lived up to, having a name. And especially in our neighborhood, there were a lot of, as we call them, factors, a lot of respectable people with Bo in their name. Yeah. Shannon Bo, Ed Bowes, right? So to be called Sonny Bo, it's like, hold on, you a Bo? They have a group of Bows, right?
So what he's explaining here is that in the particular neighborhood which we come from, according to your name, the relation to your name,
absolutely,
it's really like a family name. Okay,
absolutely,
it's really like a family name. And if you don't live up to that name, you could be chastised for having that name.
You can be chastised.
Chastised. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. All right.
In the streets are very, very particular like that. Especially, I came from a good family. A family that was in the Black liberation movement, but it just so happened that my grandmother and grandfather chose to come to San Diego. They chose a neighborhood that will end up, later on becoming a area that was infested with gang activity and other street scenarios. So I had inside the home, I was Songaya growing up. I was still a good kid, played football. But once you go outside, you have to adapt to the streets. In the streets, you take on a whole different lifestyle of its own.
Yeah. So the name Songaya. Okay. Is it from Swahili?
It is Swahili.
Okay.
It is Swahili.
Okay. Because the majority. So, the majority.
Go ahead, brother.
They come from Swahili. Go ahead. Break it down.
It is Swahili. So my family, they were in the US organization, one of the Black liberation movements. Everybody knows about the Black Panthers. The US organization, Ron Karenga. Yes. So, my family was very heavily involved in the civil rights movement. And so all of my cousins and myself, we were the next generation after that. So we all have, Swahili names. My brothers have Swahili names. And I'm really happy that my mom chose that because, growing up, it was difficult because with a name like Songaya, you can kind of imagine I got into some fights. As soon as the name calling, I'm taking off immediately.
Okay.
So you know how it goes, but coming into Islam, and then when people say, "What's your name, brother?" and I say Songaya Malik, and they say, "Wow, did you just take on that name in Islam?" I'm like, no, I was born with that name.
Yeah.
And so alhamdulillah, that's one of the blessings that, you know, that came to me later on, something that I ran from. You know, I ran from that name.
As a
And,
child.
call me Sonny. Sonny, I ran from Songaya Malik, and that's my actual name, man. That's my name. I ran from that. Coming into Islam, you know, it made me embrace who I am.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep because we have a lot of people that when I think back, we got a lot of people that grew up in Southeast San Diego,
Yeah.
and they actually had Swahili names. Because I remember when I was a kid, my mother used to go to the Swahili meetings. This is when I was real, real young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people that I grew up with had Swahili names. You know what I mean? But I never realized until later on, like you're saying, that it was a Swahili name. Juba, Kinamo,
Yeah.
all of them brothers right there, their whole family had Swahili names. You know what I mean? And yeah, I grew up with all those dudes, man. So yeah, I'm knowing that experience. So wow, that's interesting. So
you know, it's even more interesting that, you know, I actually looked it up in Tanzania. There's a place called Songea. And so I don't know. I haven't done my lineage yet, but you know, I think I'm gonna do one of those tests, brothers, because, like, you know.
So let me ask you this right here. So since we on that, and
yeah,
you already know where your name come from, okay?
Yeah.
And so so when you gonna make a trip,
brother? Honestly, that's something that, inshallah, I want to do. You know, I made Umrah in December, alhamdulillah, and you know, to the motherland. That's the next step, bro. That's the next step. That's where I want to go next. I'm already here in the Emirates, so you know, it's just a quick plane trip.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm feeling you. Yeah, you gotta let me know when you gonna. Like I told you, let me know when you're gonna do that, so I can contact some brothers. You know what I mean, and kind of hook up some, so you be met by some brothers.
I'm gonna need that. You know, and alhamdulillah, man, that's a beautiful thing that I would say to, you know, brothers that are coming into Islam. You have to, you know, it's a network. We have a network, and I didn't understand that coming into Islam. You know, I was trying to do it on my own. I thought it was something I'm very independent, so I thought it was something I could do on my own. I thought, you know, I could just pray in my room, you know, I could just read Quran, you know, I could just do this all on my lonesome, brother. You know, I'm just gonna dean, you know, hey, okay.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not like that.
Yeah,
brother,
yeah.
You
need
know,
to come together with brothers.
And the brotherhood.
It's important. Yeah.
I said this to one of my brothers, and you know, this I don't want to derail our interview, but I said
no. We got all. Go ahead. You go right on in. Go ahead.
Because it took me, you know, I just realized this probably within the last year or so. Everything that I looked to in the streets, as far as gang banging in the streets, everything that I was looking for within, you know, sports, trying to find that brotherhood, that camaraderie, I found that in Islam.
Wow.
I found that in Islam, bro. Like, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, just sometimes it gets to me because I think about all the things that I went through, just, you know, seeking that you go through a lot, you know, trying to prove your love for the homies, your love for the turf, you know what I mean, your love for the block. And you know, a lot of times you end up scarred, you realize there is no love back. And then I come into Islam, and then everybody's just so open, you know, loving me for the sake of Allah. And it brings a tear to my eyes sometimes thinking about it, man. And that's one thing I would like to say to brothers that are coming into Islam is, you know, make sure you tap in with your people, tap in with your brothers. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's, man. You're hitting on the points. Okay, so back to the topic. So you grew up in this neighborhood. You came out. You had this name already, and so because I know things that kind of like changed after you know, after my era. So you know, the last time I was in San Diego, active at any, you know what I mean, was back in, like, I want to say 1989. So that's my last time being active, you know what I mean? And so the dynamics as far as how things changed, and you know,
absolutely,
it's just enormous. So we're gonna let you know what I mean, tap into, you know, how you you know, the trials that you went through and the steps that led you to Islam. So, you know, you're going up with this name, you're having a fight, and also audience need to know that you're a famous rapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that came with that. That came with that as well.
People don't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
Cover one and then get to the other one. I think that
You have to go from the streets. Yeah. They go hand in hand.
Cover those two first before you
Yeah.
move on. So give us just an outline as far as how that transition, how do you enter into rapping, and how did you balance that with being active in the streets and so forth?
And one thing I can say is that music saved me in some aspects, because you come up and you have the streets, you start playing sports, and you kind of get more familiar. That kind of gets your camaraderie within the turf, right? You start to have a love for your neighborhood, your section. You're playing Pop Warner football. Every neighborhood has their Pop Warner team, so you're kind of like bred into this, right? So it's like, I'm playing for Skyline.
Yeah.
The rival teams are across town.
Park, yeah.
Valencia Park, Balboa, South Bay. Yeah. So these brothers are from neighborhoods, and we're from our neighborhoods. We're not really gang banging yet, but that's like the precursor to gang banging, right? And so I went through the sports and everything, and it just so happened that I had an older brother. My older brother, he had a group called the Southeast One, and they were like one of the prominent groups in San Diego.
Okay.
And so they dropped. Yeah, my brother Ajamu and them, they had a prominent group, Southeast One, and my brother, he was under the tutelage of Doug Rashid. Doug had made some beats for Pac and Whitney Houston and Brandy. So, my brother was pretty much on his way, but the streets have a way of kind of latching a hold on you, right? And I kind of feel like he may have kind of squandered his opportunities because of the streets, right? And so he was always nurturing me to be an artist, and he would really chastise me because I didn't want to rap. I wanted to bang because the bangers were popular. Yeah. It's like, I'm looking at the dudes, the 6'4s and the 7 deuces and, the caprices. And I'm like, man, see, your generation, I would consider you guys are like the original, the OGs. And so you guys were the ones that kind of implemented the structure. You guys were like the masterminds, right? You guys were about planning, about, having serious money. It wasn't just about frivolous gangbanging. When you guys started departing and doing, your bids and things like that, it left a void in the streets. And the next generation under you guys were just hardcore gangbangers. They didn't really have the masterminds, the skill set to, sustain organizations and go get, big money like your generation was, right? So they were just hardcore gangbangers. And these are the people that kind of like raised us. I'm the generation after those. And so I'm right before the millennium and right between the hardcore gangbanging era, because remember in the mid 90s, there was a war in Southeast San Diego that kind of kicked off. It may have kicked off earlier than that, but it was at its highest peak in the mid 90s, and then went into the 2000s.
That's when I traveled. Yeah, that's when I traveled. I was completely detached from a lot of that activity. But when I came, and we used to give some dawah in the area at that particular time. But I remember rolling up on some youngsters, man, and I saw that they didn't have no life in them, and so they were void of substance. So we were never like that. We were never, when I was growing up, we were never
completely
like
different. Like I said, the generation after you guys, and I'm not saying this to down anyone, but it's just that was the nature of the time. Just think about it. The era, the cocaine epidemic to the crack epidemic, it changed the landscape of neighborhoods. It changed the mentality of people, and so everything got really territorial, right? And so that generation under you guys were just hardcore killers, for lack of better words, right? Hardcore gangbangers. They were real turf dudes, and so lack of all that, lack of regard for life. And so coming up after them, those were the people that had the names in the streets. So unfortunately, those are the people I wanted to emulate. Yeah. The people that they emulated were gone. They were in prison. The people from your generation, my uncle's generation, they were doing bids. And so I'm looking up to them. These are the people that have, the low riders, the girls, all the things, all the trinkets that you aspire to have in the streets. Yeah. And so I wanted that. But my brother was like, no, you're going to be a rapper. And so
Okay,
Yeah.
so he was pushing you.
He was pushing me. You know, in the fourth grade, I was in a gay class, and you know, and to this day, you know, writing is one of my strong points, right? So he saw that I had a gift for writing, and he would make me write. Like my bro, you know, he would make me write. He would seriously like, no, you're gonna write this, you're gonna write that, and he would just pattern me like you're gonna be a rapper. And I would try to, you know, we'd have our little spats, and I would try to run to the streets, go back to, you know, go hang with the homies, but he would always find me. Like I can recall one time I was, you know, we always say, you know, about to throw our lives away. I was with one of the homies, and you know, we flagged up walking down Imperial. I think every major city has an Imperial or a Market Street. Same concept, you know. In slave times, Market Streets, Imperials. These were, you know, where human auctions to take place. So Imperials, they always run, you know, through the vein of the city.
Through the vein of the city, yeah.
So Imperial runs through our vein, right? So it goes from our neighborhood and it takes you all the way to downtown. So we're, you know, flagged up, flamed up, as we say, you know, about to get on a trolley to go to the other side just to start trouble, you know, get off on our trolley station, go to their trolley station, you know, just to see, you know, young and just looking for trouble.
Yeah.
That's the limits, you know, you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And I just remember my brother, you know, he pulled up out of nowhere, snatched me up and put me in the car. I was like, nah, like, this ain't gonna be you. This ain't gonna be you. But I fought that, man. I really fought that because I felt like I had something to prove because, you know, my friends, they grew up in Skyline. My grandmother's house is in Skyline, but I live with my mom. She lived in Spring Valley, so I would come during the weekend. So my homies, they were there all day. They lived in it. So a lot of things that they saw, I didn't really see. So I kind of felt like I had to prove that I was just as curved, just as down as them. Yeah. So like in first grade, second grade, they're already gangbanging. I'm kind of oblivious. I'm only coming on the weekends to ride my bikes. You know what I mean? So by the fifth grade, I started seeing what's going on, and then we moved there. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. You know, you're hearing the gunshots. You know, there's drive-bys going on the drone. It's like, wow. And I feel like, you know, I have to represent and protect my block. I had no concept of gangbanging. Matter of fact, I'm, you know, from a hood that's a blood Pyru hood, but my favorite color at the time was blue. Yeah. And so homie's like, bro, you can't wear that blue Nike suit here. You can't wear that here. You got what? I remember my mom bought me a pair of British Knights. It was like, nah, you can't wear those. And I was oblivious. So for my generation, I was kind of a late turnout. I didn't really start gangbanging until the 5th, 6th grade. Okay. And so I know looking for an outsider looking in, they're like, that's crazy. You're a child.
Yeah, for my generation, that's real early. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's real early. You know what I mean? Because the neighborhood really didn't start up until like 1980. Yeah. 79, they was doing some stuff, but like 80 really, that's when it started. And we didn't move really to that area until like 78. You know, so
you know, I did the history. I found out that, you know, Skyline used to be a suburb, used to be a white community. All of our people lived westward. And then as the gentrification happened, we started moving eastward.
When I moved there, I was at Keeler in the 5th grade. And I'm telling you, when I got there in 78, half of my class was white.
Wow.
Yeah, half of my class was white. And in the class after me, I think with my brother was Ricky Sykes, Lady Gotti. So we all went to Keeler together. And when we went to Keeler was half and half. It was predominantly white because all of that area by the Encanto area in the Skyline area was really white neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And so as we moved in that next year, it just weeded out. By the time we got to like this, I got to the 6th grade, it was probably about maybe on our street in that whole block where I was at, it was probably about, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 families that were white families still left. And that was because they were poor and they couldn't leave. So they were poor.
By the time I came around, it wasn't really none.
Yeah,
it wasn't really none.
Yeah.
It was none. You know, and the funny thing about it is the ones that stuck around, you know, they end up adapting to life and becoming from the neighborhood too, which you know, takes on a whole different scenario for them. But that's what happens, man. You know, I say it because I talk to a lot of my brothers out here. You know, being here in the Emirates, you know, I got a lot of brothers from Sudan, a lot of brothers, you know, from Senegal, Mauritania, especially a lot of Ghana, a lot of brothers from a lot of brothers out of Nairobi, Kenya, but Nigerian brothers too. But they don't understand the dynamics. I'm like, bro, it's really shark eat shark. So it's like if you come there, and it's just like the Somali brothers in the hood, they kind of adapted to it as well. They kind of took on some of our characteristics too, because you kind of have to. It's really shark eat shark.
To survive, yeah. To survive.
You have to survive.
Yeah, you got to survive.
So taking it back to my brother, alhamdulillah, I don't know if he knew what I was up against, but he was trying to save me from that, man. He really would. He would kind of kidnap me, put me in the studio, make me record him. And that's where my love for music came. And so when he was recording albums in the early 90s, 94, 95, I would be in the studio with him. And, you know, he would be, all right, this is how you work this machine. This is before CDs were a thing. You know, it's before computers were a thing. We were on TA88s and DATs, and okay, this is how you do that. So it kind of developed my love for music. And as time would progress, I decided like that's what I was gonna do, and that's what I started being known by. It was like, okay, everybody had their job, so to speak. They had their lane. So it was like, okay, Sonny Bo, he's the rapper homie. So I'm like, I rap about what's going on. It's like, you know, I rap and use the homie's name in a rap, and it's like, oh. So it's now I'm known as the rapper. So went from playing sports to now rapping. But that doesn't excuse you from the streets though, because you still have to be active. You still have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, within that family dynamics of the street. So I became a rapper. 2001, I dropped my first album. It was like an underground street compilation of music that I had started working on from 2000, 2001. Wow. I dropped my second album. Man, I got a long catalog. I was just looking at it the other day. I think I dropped like about 25 or 26 projects in my career.
Yeah, I went back to look at some of your yeah, and I was impressed. I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And definitely some of the albums, you know, because like I said, my last time back in the States was 1999. And so my last time having an ear.
99, before 9/11. Okay.
Yeah. So my last time having an ear to the ground was like maybe I want to say 93, 90.
Okay. 94. So my question.
Okay.
Because in around 95, around the Million Man March time, you know, the nation was like, they had a very big, you know, movement in San Diego. I remember that. I remember there was a lot of, you know, they had the Your Fish Connection shop. You know what I mean? I remember Brothers from the Nation was like strong. Were you around during that time in San Diego? Did you miss that?
I was in, there was a brother by the name of Barry Muhammad that was pretty much doing a lot of that right there. I was cool with those brothers, you know what I mean? Yeah. But at that particular time, you know, there was always kind of like a barrier between us. And and that was because, you know, brothers was young and brothers were on particular pages. You know, I basically I rode with Imam Warfdi Muhammad's community down off Imperial, off 25th. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then because, you know, back in the day, my mom used to live down there also. And so I knew my way through all of that. I used to, when I was doing what you was doing, I used to do the back streets over there. Yeah. I used to live off of on 27th and Irving.
Yeah, they don't understand how how significant that is to be from where we are to be
27th and Irving, 27th and Island, over in that area, like by Memorial Park, but going down between Memorial and like downtown, like to the side, but not exactly where they at. But I used to navigate through there a lot, so I knew my way around it. So that's where I you know, I basically went to that masjid. But the functions at that masjid were not daily. So because the masjid wasn't open daily, as a matter of fact, it was open daily, but once they took the Sister Clara Muhammad school out of it, it no longer open daily. So then I started going to the masjid on 50th and Winona. Okay, masjid.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's why at that particular time, I was no longer in that particular area. I was more so over there. And so because me and my ex-wife was going through a divorce, she lived in Spring Valley. I was no longer in the area anymore. So it was no longer, no need to be there. You know what I mean? So it was no need to be there. So, and it was just so much going on at that particular time to the point where we came through a couple times. We had a program set up. We'd give a dawah over there. But like I said, the youngsters were so, they were empty. You know what I mean? And they basically, they told me, yeah, we know who you are. You know what I'm saying? We got respect for you, G, but we ain't on that right now. You know what I'm saying? And when I looked at him, the look, he said, we
that look.
Yeah, he said, we
know that look.
He said,
that look.
Because, they was getting looped up, and he told me, say, hey, we about to go through some bad stuff. You know what I mean? So, I don't think you even want to be up here. I said, okay, respect. The fact that he warned me, let me know, it's like, cool, come on, y'all, let's go. So nobody was familiar with the area. I brought them all up there. And so these are all Muslim brothers that are from, one was from like Riverside, other one's from the other side of town. So when I brought them over there, they didn't know what the youngsters, what they were referring to.
They didn't know to get down, yeah.
Only I knew. I told them, hey, we need to go ahead and get up out of here. And so, we went to different areas. We used to go to the Hatfields also and give dawah to the brothers in the Hatfields in different areas like that. So, it's unfortunate, but, you can't, sometimes, no one wants to be Rashid in Minister Society. So, you had to make a choice, you know what I mean? And say, you know what, this is it, it's just so that's the reason why for me I decided to travel overseas, you know what I mean, because I just didn't want to the carnage and the whole situation. I didn't want to have kids in that situation, so that was really
bro, that's it right there. That part right there, not wanting to raise your coming into Islam and not wanting to raise your children in that part of the dunya, man. It's something I struggle with because I feel like there's so many brothers that need what I have now and they need some of what I have to give them. But it's like, I lose a lot of it trying to go back to give it to them. And, it's something I struggle with.
You don't know who may be harboring old feelings and you could be a trophy. And so
that's one of the situations that kicked me over the edge, per se. We'll get to that.
Okay, so
we'll get to that.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So I know you know that in Philly, just the last yesterday there were 3 homicides in Philly yesterday, and Detroit had a quadruple homicide. You know what I mean? In Detroit.
Oh yes, I've seen that on the internet. Yeah, that was senseless, man. Our people, man, we gone right now,
so,
man.
For me, it's just it's like how do you justify certain things? It's like it's senseless. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm confused in that sense to the point where I just don't know. I'm like, man, and so there was another brother that gave a shout out today that was basically talking about going back to take the streets, and we need the men out there. And so that's what we
do. It's true.
Yeah, that's what true. We do. You know what I mean, but you can't have a group of brothers trying to do something and everyone's not. You know what I mean? And so in a neighborhood like Philly situation is where it's Muslim killing Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So, because Philly has a very, when you get off, go read the history on Philly. Philly has a very long Muslim history with coming up out the nation, and then transition over into Sunni Islam, and also with the the black.
I understand.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I understand.
So
Yeah,
you know,
Dr. Sherman Jackson, he's from Philly, so he taught,
yeah,
and I'll
yeah.
get to that because I ended up going to the Allen program, and that's one of the programs that he runs, the Allen program, and meeting
So
Dr.
so
Jackson. So
so
we'll get to that too,
yeah.
brother.
So
I'm
talk to
sorry,
us
this
about
might be
it.
2 hours. I'm sorry.
Hey,
To
bro.
the viewers, we apologize. You gotta understand
Hey,
this is not just a regular interview.
yeah,
This brother, I have a lot of love for this
oh,
brother, and he
yeah.
knows me, he knows my lineage, he knows my family.
Yeah.
So it's not just a simple interview.
Thank you for listening and watching. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe, hit the notification button, and also share. Stay tuned for part 2.